on that point, you've written a book about Stephen Avery,
Yes.
and obviously probably a lot of people have watched Making a Murderer,
Yeah.
because it was like a massive sensation,
Yeah.
and everyone on Facebook suddenly becomes expert lawyers and their Facebook statuses.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to know what your sort of take on it, because I haven't read the book, but I wanted to know what your sort of take on it is, because I think that's quite interesting.
In the jail, I was on remand for 26 months fighting my case.
Yeah.
Wouldn't cooperate with the authorities. So they pulled out every single dirty trick in the book the prosecutor did on me. I also noticed these dirty tricks getting pulled out on other prisoners. So I started to gain knowledge of the standard devices used against people, whether they were innocent or whether they were guilty.
Right.
Now, I was ranting about these things for years, you know, the corruption in the system. No one was paying any attention. Prisoners, lock them up, throw away the key, who gives a shit kind of thing. But when Making a Murderer came out, it caused people all over the world to wake up to these things that I've been ranting about for years. And I immediately, it broke my heart watching that program, you know, because they were innocent. I deserved punishment. These guys didn't, and they were really vulnerable. One of them was a teenager that his IQ was like 70 or 80 something. He was just...
Yeah, he just wants to get to WrestleMania.
Yeah,
He wants to go to
yeah.
WrestleMania.
And the cops just fact-fed him and got a case out of it. And I thought to myself, I need to put some videos up on YouTube because people are going to want to write to these guys and send them things. So that's what I did. That was the first thing I did to try and help them, because you can't just write to a prisoner. For example, thousands of letters got sent back that were written to Stephen Avery because people didn't put his prison number on the envelope.
Right.
You can't just mail gifts into prison, like
Yeah.
books. For example, some prisons allow books sent through Amazon. Or some prisons have a list, a store item list. You can send money to them and they can buy items off this list in the inmate store.
Okay.
So I put some videos up explaining these things, and they went viral. I'd never been a YouTuber. My dad started my YouTube channel when I was in prison, I think. Yeah, he did. And it wasn't something I really focused on. And then these videos went viral, and I started to get all these subscribers. And I just started to put up regular videos about the Stephen Avery case after that.
So were those your first videos then?
We've got videos on my YouTube channel, stuff like me arriving at Heathrow Airport. Yeah. So there are other things on the channel, but the Stephen Avery videos are the first ones that people really started to watch over the family and friends and stuff. No, I had one video, how to survive US jail or something, that got about 100,000 views. That was my biggest one. And then I thought, alright, I've put all this stuff up about him, and there's this war going on the internet with people who support him and people who think he's guilty. You know, I could take this a step further and write a book, and the proceeds from that book, I can donate it, some of it to go to Avery and Dassey's lawyers, and the other to go to something I've set up whereby I donate books to kids in state schools and prisoners. And in the last 3 years now, I've managed to donate 20,000 books through this money and money from my public book sales. So it was a charity project, and each chapter was a method that the prosecutors and detectives used to frame these guys.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how the book's structured. It's got 10 methods that they used to frame Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because until I sort of saw you talking about it, it was in two minds after watching the film.
Yeah.
Having like made films and stuff, you're very aware of how stuff gets edited.
Yeah.
And so part of you thinks, this is awful.
Mm-hmm.
They're clearly innocent, you know.
Yeah.
And then the other part of my brain was like, yeah, but you know, you could make a documentary from the prosecutor side of things,
Of
and
course.
you could make him look
Yeah.
like he did it. So I was kind of in two minds as to whether.
Yeah.
But sounds like from what you say, it's pretty.
So it's good to be open-minded and to be critical.
Yeah.
And not to be swayed easily. So beyond watching things online, I had to go off then and read all the books on the subject, look at legal paperwork. And the more I researched it, the more I started to believe they were even more proof of innocence.
Right.
And alright, let's just take the first case for example, right? So Stephen Avery served almost 20 years for a crime that he hadn't committed,
Yeah.
basically because he'd made an enemy out of the sheriff. Now the sheriff and the prosecutor knew who'd done the crime. It was a guy they called the Sandman. He was known for attacking women in this area. So when evidence came to light that the Sandman had done the crime, the detective and the prosecutor told their own staff members, "We have contacted the Sandman's probation officer, and on the day that crime happened, the attempted murder and the rape on the beach, the probation officer told us the Sandman was with him on that day, so he couldn't have possibly have committed this crime." They completely fabricated that to keep Stephen Avery an innocent man in prison. That's pure evil.
Yeah.
So
it's not a leap to think that when they're gonna have to pay him loads of money is
that they're going to set him up again. But that's too hard a leap for some people. Some people say on the internet, "Oh, they can't be that corrupt anymore." Nonsense! Corruption is part of human nature.
Yeah.
Does human nature change?
Yeah.
Human nature does not change.
So I mean, you only have to look at the Brandon to think there's something going on.
Brendan Dassey.
Because it's such a leap that he's involved. You know, Stephen, you could sort of obviously there's a lot of things that don't add up, but there's parts of it that you're like, okay, maybe if you piece this thing to this thing, and you know, it's a bit connect the dotsy in a weird way. But Brendan, it's like, how does that even?
So Brendan told the police whatever they wanted to hear with facts that were fed to him.
Yeah.
So one scenario was that she was chained up, tortured, raped, stabbed, all this stuff in this room, which the police went with, and there's not a shred of evidence that any of that. There's no DNA evidence at all that any of that actually happened. There's no scratches on the bed from where she was tied up. There's no DNA to show that all this stuff happened in there. It's completely obvious that nothing happened at that crime scene.
And they'd have to be amazing cleaners to remove any.
That place was so filthy.
Yeah.
So they found some slugs and they said, "Look, here's a bullet." Obviously they did it. There's a bullet. There was bullets all over that scrapyard from them shooting at cars, shooting at possums. These are like shooting folk. Oh, honestly, it is absolutely insane. So, what's the evidence against Stephen Avery? Well, her bones were in Stephen Avery's burn barrel. That's strong evidence until you learn there were bones in the Dassey burn barrel. There were bones in another location nearby. There's bones all over the bloody place. So obviously, if she was burnt at one location, the bones would be there. She was moved, and the bones were scattered. And the murderers obviously knew Stephen Avery would be such a high-profile target. It was so easy just to nudge the police in that direction.
So you think it was someone else murdered her, and then knew that Avery would be a good target? You don't think it was... Because there's some people that think the police... did it and then dumped it in.
I think
they found her.
The murderer or murderers used the police, and then the police, once that was set in motion, remember earlier I described this big bureaucracy that just slowly comes at you and you can't stop it until it smothers you to death.
Yeah.
Once that bureaucracy is in motion, they, believing some of them perhaps that Stephen had done it, others perhaps couldn't care less whether he'd done it or not, but just wanted to nail him after everything he put the state through. They then proceeded to commit their own illegal activity to frame him because they had absolute immunity. When you have absolute immunity from your actions, prosecutors and detectives, you have no consequences for framing people.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if that's the most powerful thing to do, to frame someone, you can do it easily. You're going to do it because you're not going to suffer any jail time for what you did. Yeah. So they saved themselves not only the tens of millions that Stephen was going to get, and the first check was on the governor's desk, as they were snatching him, but also now they won't let them out, because if they did let them out, all those illegal tactics that they used, and that crime lab which did some dirty results, all the other prisoners who've been processed by that crime lab and by those detectives and prosecutors, they're going to file lawsuits. It would bankrupt the state of Wisconsin. We're talking now not tens of millions, we're talking billions of dollars. It would bankrupt the state of Wisconsin. So they are putting millions more of taxpayers' money now, the state, into saying that they are absolutely guilty and we should never ever let them out. They're a threat to society.
They'll never get out.
Well, you never know. You never
might,
know. The federal court system is separate to the state court system.
Okay.
They do have a chance of getting out through the federal court system. And I originally said, because people who thought this was obvious that they were innocent, they were going to say, why aren't they getting out tomorrow? I originally said on my YouTube videos, it's going to take 2 to 5 years after the premiere of Making a Murderer for these guys to get out, if they are going to get out at all. Yeah. So I still think they got a chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not as bleak as
It's political, you know.
Yeah,
if these guys who framed them, if the sheriff and the governor of Wisconsin, if they get booted out at their elections because they won't let Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey go free, someone might come in who's more amenable to doing that. It's all political,
Right.
It's all financial.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the people of Wisconsin get out and campaigning on the streets and start showing these people that they are going to get kicked out of the next elections, because that power at the voting booth is paramount. You know, I was putting these videos up, I wrote the book, I left it at that because they had to move on, we're doing all the other projects. But I've said everything I need to say in the book on Making a Murderer if you want to understand why these guys are innocent. 100% innocent. It's on Amazon worldwide.
Did you face any sort of I don't know if backlash is the right word, but were there people that weren't happy that you'd written the book?
Yeah, I got invited to go on a Reddit group, Stephen Avery's Guilty Reddit group. I didn't quite know what I was getting into at the time.
Right.
And I got on there and I got barraged of questions. It was a time when I had the flu as well, and I wasn't really on the ball.
Yeah.
I'm not using that as an excuse, but so I got this barrage of questions, and these guys could tell you which way Stephen Avery tied his shoelaces on Halloween, the night of the crime. They could tell you, minutest little details from these guys' lives.
Yeah.
But none of that affected the bigger picture. So because I couldn't say which way to he tied his shoelaces, on some of these answers, they thought I hadn't done my research and I was full of baloney. But those 10 methods that they used to frame those people, which I experienced myself, I'm not innocent, I deserve to be punished, but I saw the tricks the prosecutors pull. I saw innocent people get sidelined by these tricks. Those tricks are universal. They're happening all over America right now in the justice system, and I stand by my book, and I thoroughly believe these guys are innocent, and those tricks, I've detailed them.
Yeah.
And that, that's the end of the story as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
So, when you were getting prosecuted,
Yeah.
The prosecutor really wanted to get you for a long time. Was it 200 years or something?
Yeah, I was told if I went to trial and lost my 20 plus charges, each one at maximum 10 years, they would stack them all up to a 200-year sentence. I saw someone get 200 years for a drug case, a guy out of Tucson, similar drug case to mine. I think he'd refused to sign a plea bargain for 15 years or 20 years or something like that. He went to trial, he wanted to try and get 5 years or less. He rolled the dice. The dice, it's a bad idea to roll the dice and on. And he lost, and they gave him 200 years.
But you'd never killed anybody.
Okay, so the focus of the justice system has switched over to the war on drugs in America. So if they can hand out huge sentences, they get headline news, prosecutor gets a promotion, she might be running for political office.
Right.
It shows they're tough on crime and drugs. They're going to get more votes. There's all these other factors.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, I'm not going to live to 200. That's not the point. This helps their careers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they love giving out these huge sentences. Plus, if I'm serving decades in a private prison, for example, $50,000 a year,
more money,
every
yeah.
10 years, that's $500,000
And
taxpayers' money to the prison.
when she put 34 years on your sheet,
Yeah.
that was intentional, wasn't it? Because you say it's a mistake, but
It's a mistake.
yeah,
They're going to say it's a mistake because they have absolute immunity.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, because I hadn't cooperated, the prosecutor did all these dirty tricks, including charging my girlfriend with a prescription pill found in our house without a written prescription, which was classic selling, because my girlfriend was visiting me 3 times a week and she was my lifeline.
Yeah.
So a year in, they broke me down psychologically, charging over this pill. She could no longer visit me. And then the prosecutor's final farewell was accidentally put my sentence down as 34 years on the paperwork to the state prison, when it was 9.5.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to find out that happened? Do you know?
I didn't know. No, I got to Alhambra, which is the Arizona Department of Corrections Processing Center.
Right.
And then I thought I was just going to be in there for the regular amount of time and get sent to regular prison. And then all of a sudden, they're telling me your sentence is 34 years. I'm like, no, it's not. I've just been sentenced. Well, our paperwork, our computer system shows 34 years. Within days, you're going to Supermax. You're a security risk, you're an escape risk, you're a suicide risk. You're going to Supermax. So I then got on to my parents and to my lawyer to do with anything that's, if there's a mistake made in a prison and it's not in your favour, they don't just say, oh, we made a mistake.
Sorry about that.
yeah.
Just change it.
Yeah. This takes lawyers, this takes months to fix.
Yeah.
It took about 3 or 4 months to fix.
Because if they admit they made a mistake, surely that's like is there any recourse for you in that situation, or
No.
is it's just like
You don't have any, the prisons don't have any recourse. There's a saying in prison, you've got nothing coming.
Right.
Which means you just don't have any recourse for anything.
Yeah.
If you complain to something about the guards, they say, I'll get right on that and get back to you.
Yeah.
They don't ever come back.
Yeah.
So I was lucky because I had a private lawyer, a top lawyer in Arizona, Alan Simpson, who the New Mexican Mafia had recommended to me.
Oh, that's handy.
And my parents were on top of things, and the UK embassy was on top of things, some things they helped me with. So I was lucky I had these outside forces helping me, but a lot of people in prison don't have those outside forces helping them. But you know what, I'm not complaining about this stuff because the story, the conditions, the dirty tricks that were played on me, everything was taken to such an intense degree. People wouldn't be so interested in my story if I had a normal experience.
Yeah, sure.
So I credit now prosecutors, boss of the jail, detectives, for taking things to such an extreme.
They've helped you out.
They've helped me out. They've given me this great storytelling material. And I feel really privileged that people are so interested in it. To this day, 10 years after my release, people are still buzzing off my story. Videos are going viral on my YouTube channel now like I've never seen before. I did a video, what is a prison heart check? And it got almost 1 million views. Yeah. Yeah. So I appreciate people subscribing to my YouTube.
If you're going to take lawyer recommendations, New Mexican Mafia probably quite a good way to...
When I was visiting the New Mexican Mafia, it was a scary place, These guys looked seriously deadly. I didn't know who they were. Rocket propelled grenade launch on the TV. All these guns, Uzis, rifles, AKs, weighing scales, slabs of crystal meth, slabs of coke. Big dudes with prison tats, shaved heads, looked like they wanted to eat me every time I went over there. So they said, look, if you get pulled over from here, coming out of here, you've got to exercise your right to remain silent. They say they want to search the car, say you're in a hurry, you don't want to be searched. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
If they do search your car and they do find drugs, you say you're exercising your right to remain silent, and you call this lawyer, Alan Simpson. It costs a lot of money, but spend the rest of life in prison. So that was they schooled me and everything, the New Mexican Mafia.
Alright.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to ask you about was convict justice.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's sort of a weirdly fascinating topic, really. I think because it's kind of it feels kind of odd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that there are, and it makes sense in a way, but there are some crimes that are, obviously as you mentioned, like kill on sight and smash on sight, and I don't really know what the question is really. It's just sort of the whole idea of convict justice is really fascinating to me for some reason.
On the Unilad video, people are saying, how can dudes rape other dudes in prison? Yeah, if you come to prison for raping a woman or a sex offence, it's kill on sight by the prisoners.
Yeah.
People can't wrap that around their heads because it
seems like a weird
contradiction.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it is. I can't explain it either to make it go away. It's just the way it is. I asked a prisoner who was gang raped what motivates prison rape, and that person told me it wasn't sex.
Yeah.
It's control and power and anger at the system, anger at themselves, feeling hopeless, got power over other people, pinning them down, raping them. If someone comes to prison and the gang rape that person because they don't like that person's just vulnerable. Like in Shot Caller, when the gang raped that young black prisoner, showing fear and punk him out. It's like a jungle in there. It's like people are animalistic. They sense fear and they prey on it and they'll exploit you to the maximum. It's really degrading to the people that this happens to, getting punked out. If you're punked out, you're cleaning toilets, you're getting rented out by the gangs as a prostitute and stuff like that. So yeah, there are all of these contradictions.
Yeah.
So it's all over the world as well, because the vast majority of people, except for sex offenders, and I think even some sex offenders themselves, see the wrong in what they're doing. You'd have to be an animal not to think that a person sexually abusing a child deserves some savage form of punishment.
Yeah.
Now, I put this to the public. I said, what do you think of convict justice on sex offenders? And they were all, yeah, kill them, beat them up, shank them, whatever. The public were overwhelmingly in favour of it. And if you look around the world, some prisons, like South American prisons, sex offenders come in, they just drown them right away. Yeah.
Drowning in what?
They find there's like a water well.
Right.
Yeah, and they drown them, stuff like that.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. Or there's some water collected in some shallow area.
And I'm guessing they're
like
not interested in the nuances of your case as to whether you're innocent or not.
No. Some of these South American prisons, I think it was marching powder where they were drowning the prisoners. There was some area where water collected. It wouldn't be a water well because the prisoners would be drinking out of that. Well, as soon as the sex offenders came in marching powder, the prisoners are like manufacturing the coke in the prison and stuff like that. It's a great book, popular with backpackers. So when the sex offenders came in, right away they take them to this area where the water is and they would drown them. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Were you ever concerned about being punked out?
Oh my God! If you watch Shawshank,
yeah,
I can be a friend to you. What's his name? Bugs Diamond in the shower scene, the sisters. I was thinking that was going to be me, the skinny guy in the shower getting brutalised. But I had people in there with me who got arrested with me.
Right, so they...
Wild Man.
Yeah.
He's becoming a popular on my YouTube channel.
He's doing his prison food series.
Yeah. He might be going on the True Geordie as well.
Oh, really?
With me. And I had people protecting me. I had my bouncers in there with me.
Right.
So I held on very tightly to the soap. And even later on, when I got separated from those guys, because you get after remand jail, there's prisons all over Arizona. I had a mafia guy protecting me called Two Tonys, whose book's finally going to be coming out this year. He dictated his life story to me. He'd left dead bodies from Arizona to Alaska. Yeah. So he's top of the respect. He's not harmed any women or kids. He's old school Italian mafia.
Yeah, he's just killed other gang.
Yeah, if you've murdered rival gangsters, you're top of the respect in the prison. There's
a weird honour to that though, isn't there? In a sort of strange way, it's kind of like, well, he only killed other gangsters, so it's kind of like, You know what I mean? It's kind of, it's all right, really, in a
Yeah, because
strange way.
they believe being in the mafia is like joining up for the army. You are a hired person to kill or be killed.
Yeah.
And if you don't outsmart your rival, he's going to kill you before you kill him. So they see killing a woman or a child, they're completely innocent people. That's got nothing to do with it.
Sure.
So by signing up to be kill or be killed, the people he's killing have also signed up to kill or be killed. And they accept that just like a soldier going to war accepts that. That's the way Two Tonys told me he looked at it. He was in the Navy, and he signed up as a Navy person to kill or be killed. And he viewed the mafia as the same.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys in prison are ex-soldiers. A lot of my mates were ex-Marines.
Really?
Yeah, come out of the wars, they don't get help mentally.
Yeah.
Get on street drugs, end up in prison.
My girlfriend said to me last night that because we were watching your videos.
Yeah.
My girlfriend looked at me and she was like, "You'd be someone's bitch in prison."
Oh.
I was like, "Oh, come on."
Oh, you got to make alliances with the right people if you
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
be someone's bitch. Yeah, you know, it's not easy. It is brutal.
Is it just sort of when you? Is it like the first? Is it more of a risk when you first enter?
Yeah.
So you can sort of not relax, but after a while, if you've
Two Tonys did a blog on this. I should post it as a YouTube video. The new arrivals are coming in. They're called the fresh fish, and the prisoners are like animals on the Serengeti, you know, looking predatorially at these youngsters coming in. Who's the animals that are lame, that we can take out, that are showing weakness? The guy's shuffling in with his head down and he's looking at the floor. Or the guy who's coming in with a spring in his step, his chin up, he's got all tats all over him.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who's coming in looking down, he's got something to hide. We're going to get him. Yeah, so if you go in there and present yourself correctly,
Yeah.
and if anyone tests you right away, you throw punches, you show heart, then you should be alright even if you lose the fight. You just got to show that you're willing to fight, willing to
So
stand
even
up
if you
yourself.
look like, I have no muscle on me at all. Like.
Hey, I was in Two Tonys' cell,
Yeah.
and this tiny Mexican-American gang member came in with glasses, and he said he wanted to buy a book off me. And I said, look, this person sent me that book for free. You can have it. It was The Clash of Civilizations or something historical.
Right.
This guy was a foot shorter than you, weighed half of your weight. He was wearing glasses, and he just looked like a mellow, polite guy.
Yeah.
And he left the room, and Two Tonys, because when the guy left, he said, look, you sure you want to give me this book for free? I said, yeah. He's like, look, I've got your back. I'm always ready to go. I've got your back. And he left. And Two Tonys said, you've made a good friend now.
Really?
That's one of the deadliest motherfuckers in the Arizona state prison system.
Because he just doesn't give up, and he's just like.
Him and his homeboys were in a cell. They were high, and the guards busted them, and they all pulled out their shanks, and they stabbed the guards into pieces. Yeah, and left them all dead.